Okay. Yeah. Just want to leave. Well, not leave, but pick up where I left off before um, concerning that whole issue. Um, oh, just ignore that. That's my idiot neighbor. I'll tell you all about that later. Well, anyway, the thing is, most of the main points were made in the last video, but the thing I realized is that some of the background that motivated me to make that video weren't in place. So that I guess there were three or four main sources, but the two most important ones I would say were of the one influencer that was responding, you might say, to some criticism that was being made against some ladies that I think were overweight or something like that. And she was, I couldn't really tell if she was defending them or herself, because herself, she wasn't really overweight, but I don't know, maybe she wasn't exhibiting her best body. I think she's in great shape. But whatever the case is, whosever standards you were going by, I hope all these standards that people are going by are their own, whatever. But the idea was about shaming and all that. But before I kick off, but yeah, this painting came, it's incomplete, but it came from around 2007, 2008. And I basically worked out the figure of this woman standing in the garden with like a serpentine steel coil of a serpent up by the ear here. You can see it's roughed out in the block and flat colors, but the detailing hasn't been put in where she's grabbing the fruit from the tree, and that serpentine thing is, plugged into like a wall socket, which is attached to the abdomen. And if you're wondering, is that the girl? Yes, that's the girl. She was the inspiration for it. She wasn't too impressed with this later, but she didn't discourage it, but I can tell she was concerned about it. But this is from fucking 2007. Life goes on, so it's okay to express this now without getting too personal. But I remember I said. Something, and I described what was happening here, had something to do with desire and being hardwired, and she didn't like it. She, I, ugh. My interpretation of her expression was kind of like, it was based on her feeling, objectified. Right? I get it. She didn't pose for this. You know what I mean? She didn't pose for this. I did this without photos or a reference. This was just from, my imagination at the time. But there are certain, I guess, tropes within the body that would suggest that I had a keen awareness of her particular shape and her features, etc. And she knew. And it just came to me at the time. But anyway, yeah, you can guess who it is, whatever. It's not personal, just someone I knew from my past, whatever. And I had attached her in the first segment of this video on this topic, but whatever. But no, I realized that some of the things were left out. So yeah, the one video was of a woman responding and letting her critic know that she could basically, I'm just going to paraphrase everything because I don't want it to get too personal, but she was just basically saying, I could eat you for breakfast. And that people that are going around talking about being so thin and that like it's their only attribute that they feel is worth mentioning, the only thing they got going for them, so to speak. She was basically saying, she goes, I fluctuate between 165 and something, I guess. She said, but my best weight was when I was 189 or 185 or somewhere around there. And she explained this. And she said, but I felt like I could wrestle a bear. She goes, she was basically making a statement about her appreciation of strength, and not so much an appreciation of just being thin and accepted or whatever. While this idiot was accusing and name calling, well, not name calling, but I guess trying to shame someone that was overweight, calling them your fat ass and all this, and look at you, and it was really wrong. It was out of place. But anyway, there was that particular person, and the other person was someone who, well, they've been putting themselves out there as a plus size person. I don't want to get personal about it, but I'll just explain it like this. They seem to be genuinely curious about whether or not their body shape and their huge, I'm sorry, bosom really had anything to do with whether or not guys were going to be attracted to them and this and that, right? That woman actually showed one of the videos where she's exercising on a treadmill, and humorously she was expressing that, and I'm still not skinny or something like that, right? I don't know what her motivations are, but I remember commenting to her saying something like, the real fucking question is, do you think it fucking matters? What are you doing? Putting yourself out here, doing this. Like, you don't have to do this. And the way she worded it, too, I think people fucking start losing their mind. They box themselves into these private entries and go online and, start thinking they're doing the most sane thing. But I question it a lot. I've questioned it since 1995. What the fuck are you people doing? This isn't real therapy. if the person in fact needed the therapy. But anyway, to use terms like, what do you real men out there think? And I think she was playing with the idea that there are some men sexually attracted to big women or big boobs in her case, that kind of thing. And I just, I told her a lot about what I felt. I said, I don't know why you're doing this. That there are a lot of men out there that are attracted to your body type, and there are a lot of men who are not. And you're asking if it matters? What kind of question is that? Just be honest, she says. And I'm like, honestly, if you were my girlfriend, I'd probably dump you afterwards, because I wouldn't want you going up there and flaunting yourself around like that. No guy wants that. But at the same time, I got the feeling that she was just basically trying to flaunt her stuff. The camera would come on, and there she was, her chest right out there, hanging this, At one point, I wondered if they were even real, which I believe they are, but I do not know, because there are apparatuses which I've seen. There was a guy in my locality. It was a teacher. It was getting flashed around the internet locally. He was a teacher who went in with this breast, I don't know, what do you call it, appendage or whatever. It was like a prosthetic you put on, and it looks like a big set of boobs. And so I know those things exist, so I wondered if hers were even... It was kind of silly, whatever. But I was asking her that question. Like, the question is for you to answer. Do you think it matters? And the other question would be, if you do think it matters, do you think you should change to appease somebody? Or there's all kinds of questions that could come up in that. Frankly, I'm like, I know for a fact that some people, that appeals to some men, right? You're just playing games, and you're going for a flaunt, and by this time most people know about OnlyFans bullshit and stuff. How there's an appreciation for basically every type or whatever, and it's just I don't know. I want to use the word cesspool, but I don't even really care. I'm not offended by the trolls or the spies. I'm the kind of person that will fucking stick it in the camera if I know I can offend you. If I'm in the wrong mood or the right mood, whatever it is. I don't care about that. But I was trying to question her whether or not, you know, she should even really care about this, but not give her the whole body shaming pep talk bullshit, like, just love yourself no matter what. And like stop it already. No, just, um, but this idea of people giving kickback on her working out, like just people just being generally rude. I from both sides of or from both ends of the spectrum. You can call it left and right. I don't know. I think stupid comes in pretty much a north and south flavor. It doesn't really matter. But then when I saw her working out on the treadmill, she was saying, "Oh, I've been busting my hump since whatever, last 45 minutes or whatever it was, and I'm still not skinny." And I gave her a big rant about intensity and all that. But what I was really trying to get around to saying is this talk about body shaming and that the women need to remember not to be controlled or influenced by the world's standards or expectation of what the body should look like and what beauty is and all that. Yeah. Get all that. I get all that. We all got all that for the last 20 years. But what I was saying is people shouldn't be so quick to rush in and start showering her with the don't make any changes bullshit. All right? Because there's all kinds of reasons why a lot of people do that. It's the group mentality. Stay down here with us. You're going to try and improve what? You're fine like you are. Don't change. Don't. Because there's a lot of that those challenging questions going on within them themselves. And they have a better idea than they let on about what their actual standards are and whether or not they are living up to them. And they don't want to be reminded by someone else in the room that said, "Fuck this, I'm making a change." They don't want that. And I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm saying there's a lot of that and that they need to be careful. And so the other influencer, not this particular plus size woman, who anyway, this other woman was saying, "Remember, sweetie, you should love yourself no matter what shape you're in," and all that. Now, that point is a valid one to be made, but I don't think every aspect of... You can end up confusing the issue. To tell someone, okay, no matter what state you're in, love it, own it, whatever. It's like, okay, I don't really think we're talking about the same thing when you're talking about physicality. Because if you're saying it doesn't matter what state, up, down, whatever, low, this and that, then you're basically saying there are no standards. You have no standards. And here's why I think that's wrong. What I was trying to say is that the reason that's wrong is because usually when someone decides they're going to make the change, it's because the best reason for them to do it is because they themselves looked in the mirror and decided, I don't like what I see. I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. This is below my personal standards. It has nothing to do with the world and social and political considerations. And whether or not everyone agrees, that is your fucking personal choice. And if you want to do that, you go ahead. But me, I could look at someone in both states and say, you know what? Hey, you want to change your body for the better because something about it bugs you, that's you go. That is up to you. If that Lionheart, that champion, that better you inside of you says it's not content with the way things are and it wants to change, nobody has a fucking right to dissuade you from that and try and change your way of thinking. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's those same people who do not pay any homage to the kind of strength and character and dedication and drive it takes to succeed in these things. They're too busy battling with their own insecurities. They're too busy guilting out inside about whether or not they're really trying hard. They don't want to try hard. And again, I'm not talking about everybody, but there is a lot of this. You're good the way you are. No challenges, no value, no nothing, no standards. Just be and be happy. Everything's about moods after all, right? You know what I mean? The competitive edge and the people that take on that attitude and become interested in their physicality, you don't need that kind of attitude to surround you while you're trying to achieve your goal. It has nothing to do with them. Fuck them. You go. But on the other hand, I will say that to me, it's, I don't confuse confidence with someone's view on their body, their own body, right? Like you can sometimes mistake confidence for someone's personal attractiveness, so to speak. We shouldn't confuse those two. I'll tell you the truth. Like, I know that there are some men that are attracted to plus-size women. There's no doubt about that. Oh, I know there's no doubt about it. Without even going there. But I'd say that that's not to say that every woman that's overweight exudes the same amount of attractiveness or sexuality or etc., what have you. It doesn't mean that. It's a personal thing. I've seen some women in that category that just, don't do a damn thing for, not that they have to or they should. It doesn't do it. I'm repulsed. Okay? But then I've seen some plus size women, they have a charisma and a sexuality about themselves and a confidence that is quite attractive. Right? But what I'm trying to say is this is about individuals and individual choices. Stop these people that keep trying to speak for their sex, whether they be male or female. Like, just stop it. All right? You don't speak for everybody. Same thing with racism issues. I'm such and such a race. I'm of this particular country or culture or creed, so therefore I'm speaking for... Fuck you. Fuck people like that. You don't. We're all individuals. Now, it sounds like a... Look, I don't want it to turn into a rant. I'm just saying, you don't have to listen to people like that when you're talking about your personal goals. And you have every right to pursue those personal goals. So you go ahead and do it. But stop bullshitting people into liking a substandard level of their own that they've determined is substandard. Not the world, but they themselves said, I'm better than this. I want more than this. You don't fucking determine that standard for them. It is personal. Leave them alone. It's a hard enough route and education to take to find out how to do it. But if they stay on course, they will do it. And fuck you if you don't like it. No one has that right to dissuade them. Okay? But understand too, there are many strong people out there that see themselves as possessing leadership qualities, that want to dominate and manipulate the weaker so that they will be influenced by them. It's an ego trip. It's not always the case, but a lot of these people are isolated and they don't like competition. They want to be in a position of influence and leadership, and when they're not, they don't want to hear about it. Doesn't matter what's true, what's not. You got to be careful there. You've got to be careful there. And, there's a lot of inadequacies and what you call... What was the word? I was searching for it before. Not substandard. Shortcomings that can create an environment of following amongst especially our young women today, where they're looking to stronger women, saying, I wish I was more like her, more outspoken, more brave, more this, more that, more that. But they don't understand what they're doing to themselves. They're limiting themselves by constantly looking up. Mentoring, having heroes and in your youth is important, but once you get to a certain level of development, you need to understand the ugly truth that it's kind of like up to you. Mentoring, someone who's better in a field that you aspire to be part of, that's all important. But constantly comparing yourself to even the leaders that you admire, I think there's still so much room for manipulation there. But all I'm saying is, she, like the one plus girl that was asking this question really wanted an answer. Does it matter? Does it not matter? And I would ask the new question. It would be like, well, what are you saying? Are you saying you're gonna get in shape because you think this is what men want? You're not clear on it. What men want? You're gonna have a variety of different responses. What the fuck do you want? Think about that. And if you're not experiencing a life of dating and that's what you're after, because you keep talking about what do the real men think? Like you're almost suggesting that the real men like big girls or something like that. It's like you're just asking for trouble there. Okay? Stop placing identity on attitudes and personal taste. Don't do that shit. What do you want? And I'll tell you something else. If you do this thing just to get dates, you can forget about sticking with it. Because if you don't consider your new lifestyle of fitness or better health or whatever, taking an interest in things for their own sake, as well as the, perks of dating or whatever, the opposite sex or sometimes the same sex, whatever it is, whatever your flavor is, if you don't do these things, you're not motivated to do them outside of that particular aspect, forget it. You'll never last. Forget it. You won't last. You'll stop. You'll quit. It's not a good enough reason. I'm telling you. It works. Oh, it works. But you won't keep it up. You know what I mean? That's just my personal opinion. You got to be motivated to do it for all the right reasons. But I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, that's very hard to do if you haven't been doing it for most of your life. Like a lot of people that are in great shape today were in great shape 10 years ago. And they weren't born like it or born into it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that they always did live an active lifestyle, or for a long time they had watched what they ate and they understood nutrition and exercise, kinesiology, etc., etc. Now, for the person that's entering into it, once they get into their late 20s and then 30s and 40s, they can achieve remarkable results, but the mindset that they must achieve when they attempt this it's a little bit more is required of them to learn the education because to jump into that lifestyle like that, forget it. If you don't see results fast enough, you're going to just quit. And half the time when people jump into exercise programs, suddenly they're doing things they've never done before, but a lot of times they're not always doing it right. They're going through the motions, they're doing this, but they're not doing anything right, and they see very little results, and that's discouraging. Of course it is. But a lot of those people turn around and say, oh, I tried all that and nothing worked. Yeah, but you didn't know what you were fucking doing. That's important. You know what I mean? And their time spent doing that requires of them an education. I remember being a young man just in my late teens through my 20s. I mean, the requirement I felt for just reading about these things, Muscle and Fitness, Flex Magazine, Men's Health, various textbooks. A lot of those textbooks I still have on my shelf. They were intrinsic. That was important. I wasn't beeping around the goddamn internet looking for this guy's opinion and that guy's opinion. It had to do with having a firmer understanding about health and nutrition. And it just becomes part of you, no matter what your other area of interest is, becomes part of your lifestyle. You're aware of it, But that lack of awareness can lead people in all kinds of directions, health-wise, I mean, we all got to go sometime, but yeah, so, not having that lifestyle incorporated into your day-to-day, it would be a lie to say that, it doesn't matter how old you are when you start. It does matter. But it doesn't mean you can't achieve incredible results. You can, but more is required of you in your awareness and understanding at a later age. It's really important to remember. I don't even know what this rant's really about because I just wanted to follow up, but I'm saying to a lot of those women that do decide that for them, they've decided to do something about their bodies and change. Look, it's the same old shit. It ain't going to work, but I'm just going to say, yeah, you can do it. Potentially most people, except for certain extreme cases of genetic or glandular that have problems concerning genetics or have problems concerning their glands. Most people who have just let themselves go or never had an active lifestyle and stuff, most of them end up having the potential to radically transform their bodies, but more people than not end up just not doing it. They don't do it. They don't understand it. Or they'll spend, even up to 2 or 3 years doing the same thing, wondering why they're not getting the results they want, because they have some silly notion in their head that it's just a matter of time. Well, no, it's not just a matter of time. Time is an issue, and time is a factor, but doing things right, understanding how to do things, and making the most of your time, and just, a good attitude is just not enough. Just like a bad attitude, telling yourself, oh, it doesn't matter, so you don't have to change, is no good either. It's all the same shit. All right, so I just want to wish them encouragement for them to go ahead with their efforts and try not to listen to people that are going to dissuade them away from their goals. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer. You don't do that. But don't do it. Because remember, there's going to be a spirit in you at times that's going to want to quit anyway. And listening to their shit is just going to make them more than happy and comfy that they don't feel challenged by someone who wants to make a difference. Okay? So you can do that. But if you also decide that, you're plus size and it is attractive to some men and you're okay with that and you don't really want to do the radical thing, well, there's that too. But that's on you. I don't know. Like I said, there's some big girls out there that are very attractive and then some are just repulsive. But it's a personal thing. Has to do with a whole bunch of things, I suppose. Chemistry, confidence, etc., etc. Me, I don't really care at this point. Like, once you get a few things figured out in life, that those things don't really matter. But what does matter is that you shouldn't let people discourage you away from reaching those goals. That's the most important thing here. Even if it seems, and this is a point too, even if it seems that person is coming across as being supportive, when really they're not. They're just saying, don't change. Everything's fine, just the way you are. And you know what? That's not bad advice, but if something in the way you are to you is bugging you, that's not their decision to make. It's not their opinion that matters in that particular instant. And that's what I think people forget. But, more and more with internet and cell phone culture, we're talking about generations that are more geared towards groupthink and numbers. Look how influenced this person is. They must be right. Oh, God. If one thing literature and psychology has taught us is that the opposite has been true for civilization. If you don't know, you don't. Well, now you know. I mean, well, maybe you know. I doubt it, because there'll be a lot of, just go for what you want. Stop fucking worrying about other people's personal taste. At this particular point in history, it doesn't matter. There seems to be a category for every goddamn slant, bent, whatever you want to call it out there. It doesn't matter. You're going to find, especially if you're putting yourself out there online, you're going to find there's going to be people who appreciate your current state, and there will be other people that appreciate what you're striving hard to do. So just stop asking them. Stop asking them as if their opinion is something you're really listening to. Because as long as you're sitting in the room, or you're projecting your messages out there in solitude, and you're not, because I know you have someone filming you too, probably a friend or something like that. A lot of the shit doesn't count. Because what you express in fantasy or question or curiosity online in solitude isn't the same as when you meet a person. You could rev yourself up and meet some person that, you think it's the ideal, and then the reality hits in and you fucking go your separate ways. You're like, this ain't gonna work. There's something wrong here. Because people are living behind fucking screens.